Don't fuck up. Don't fuck yourself. Don't fuck up. Oh, God. And don't fuck yourself. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Root Cooking School podcast. I'm your host, the out-of-tune John Hauser III. And with me, wearing a plumbing company hoodie is...
Hi, everybody. It's the co-host with bleeding ears, Jeni Peck. You can't get rid of me.
To be fair, they also do heating and air conditioning. How's it going?
It's good. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm here. I'm making it through.
Yeah.
I'm trying to live.
We're surviving.
Yes.
Day to day.
We're here, man. We've made it through another day, and we've lived to bullshit about pate at some point today, so that's good.
Ooh, who doesn't love a good pate?
A lot of people, apparently.
I know, losers.
Yeah, pretty much. So how have you been? What have you been doing? Have you been cooking anything fun? Have you got anything you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I have been on my new cooking obsession, biscuits.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. That's like a black hole.
I feel your pain, yes.
Yeah. I never really attempted them because like Lila is the baker. But I got some really good sausage when I was visiting friends in North Carolina.
Right.
And so I wanted to make sausage gravy because I fucking love sausage gravy. And I was
one of my
like,
favorite things.
I feel like that's not a whole complete dish without the biscuit. So I wanted to also learn how to like really make proper buttermilk biscuits and like the perfect biscuits, at least for me. There are very different styles of biscuits, some that are like closer to scones. And then there are like the drop biscuits that are very fluffy but flaky. And then the like laminated, like layered biscuits that you can almost like peel layers off. Very reminiscent of the Pillsbury Grand layered biscuits, which I grew up with.
Same.
But yeah, so I got obsessed.
What is your favorite biscuit before you go into it?
I'm a classic Southern, lightly laminated buttermilk biscuit. So my recipe, of course, is a shit ton of butter, flour, buttermilk, salt. I mean, there really isn't much to it.
No, it's not.
Yeah, baking powder and baking soda for the rise. And I, I use a pastry cutter because you don't want you want everything cold. You don't want the butter to melt, so it stays in little pieces. So that's, so it flakes and rises up and you have those soft, tender layers. But when I roll it out, I do laminate it just like 3 times, like really simple. I don't go crazy. And I feel like that gives you a little bit more layers than just kind of bringing the dough together and cutting out the biscuits, which are more like the drop biscuits.
You a round biscuit or square?
Round
biscuit or square biscuit?
It depends, really. I go back and forth. I started out square and I ended up doing the round. I feel like for that kind of biscuit, I don't mind the square as long as you're, cutting them straight down so you don't like pinch off the edges so it like rises properly and evenly. The square biscuits are kind of nice. I also experimented with angel biscuits, which are a yeasted biscuit.
Okay.
Which I wasn't familiar with until, of course, I went down the black hole of research. And it's just like a regular buttermilk biscuit. It has the baking soda, baking powder, but it also has yeast, and you rise it overnight, which is interesting.
Do you add the baking powder and baking soda during the mixing?
Yep, okay. All together. At least the recipes I found, I've never...
I mean, it would be weird to do it after.
Yeah, I've never even heard of this kind. And it's interesting that it does it all together. It definitely has less baking soda and powder than just like the straight up regular biscuits because you have the yeast. But what's also interesting is like you really punch down that yeast. So it's not like crazy, like a fluffy bun or,
Sure.
like a super fluffy yeasted dough. But it has like a little bit of more tender bite to it. You still like, have the butter really cold and piecey. Then you let it rise covered overnight. And then when you're ready to bake them, you pull the cold dough out, you roll it out gently, you laminate it like I still laminate it up twice, and then roll it out, not too being gentle and not taking all the like air out of it. It's a little bit of a wetter dough. And I cut those out because they're it's a looser dough. So it needs a little bit more form. And a lot of times I didn't do it this way and it was fine. But a lot of times they cut them out and put them like touching each other in like a cast iron pan and bake them off that way. And you can pull them apart. But I was like, is that going to affect the rise? So I ended up baking them separately. But I think it'll be fine either way.
The reason that they put them next to each other is so they rise higher because they got nowhere else to go because they touch each other. They push each other up.
Yeah. But they turned out great.
But the problem with that, and I like that method, to get a little bit extra height. But the problem with that is you don't get crispy on the edges because they're touching.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. But they turned out really great and they weren't. The flavor was a little different because that yeast is developing flavor overnight in the dough.
Which I think would be nice.
Yeah, and it wasn't as like, I thought they'd be like, oh, this is a fucking roll. Like, it's not going to be biscuity. But because of the way you treated the butter, it was really biscuity. Because everyone knows, like, butter makes things flaky because it has a water content. And so when the water is evaporating as it's baking, it creates those layers and like those little holy buttery layers because the oil's left over, the butter fat is left over. And when you're making biscuit dough, you're not like using melted butter, letting it melt. So it stays in little pea-sized pebbles in your dough. And so you get those layers. But yeah, it was really good. I think if I had to choose, I still would go with like the classic Southern buttermilk biscuit, but mostly out of tradition. I feel like it's more appropriate with sausage gravy. Yeah. And it stands up a little more. Like it's a little more dense than the angel biscuit. So I feel like it stands up better to sausage gravy.
So you haven't ventured into the cheddar cheese scallion realm yet?
No. Like I'm kind of a traditionalist when it comes to biscuits. I don't like a bunch of shit in my biscuits.
I don't like cheddar cheese in my biscuits because I don't think it actually adds anything. Scallions, it actually does because it perfumes the dough. And I really like that. But that's also a very specific biscuit for a very specific, like it wouldn't be bad with sausage gravy, but like why are we trying to gild the lily here?
Yeah, like I don't go crazy with my sausage gravy. I go very classic. Yeah, and I love it. It's absolutely delicious.
What do you know about sausage gravy? It's probably like act like you make it every day or something.
Oh, I make it all the time. That's why I have a fatty liver.
I bet how many gallons of fucking sausage gravy do you make a day?
Well, actually, we don't have sausage gravy. We don't serve sausage gravy at my restaurant. Yeah.
That's a goddamn travesty.
I know. You know what? I'm trying to keep it simple because I don't do biscuits for my restaurant either. Because like there's no point in having sausage gravy if you don't have biscuits. And like we don't have much of a pastry program.
I mean, it's good on toast.
I know, but
I love sausage gravy.
I know. You can eat it like soup.
Sausage gravy and chip beef are my two favorite breakfasts.
Yeah. But sausage gravy, like a good sagey sausage. And like the key ingredient is fucking white pepper.
Yes.
White pepper in your sausage gravy. If your sausage gravy is missing something, go get some white pepper.
Yeah.
Which people don't realize because like a lot of Westerners don't use white pepper, but in like Asia, like that's the pepper of choice.
By the way, you just turned into Creole for a second. You were like, white pepper. White pepper. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Because white pepper is fucking super duper weirdly key in like, I actually use both. I use black pepper and white pepper.
I do too, because I like all the flavor. But anything like cream sauce based, like roux based, white pepper is just very complimentary.
It's so good.
Every now I'll get a little crazy and grate a little nutmeg, which is very like French saucy, which goes well, but I don't go crazy. And it's like, if I feel like being crazy that day, you know.
White pepper. You smell like elephant poop.
What?
But it tastes good. It smells like elephant shit.
What? How do you know what elephant shit
Have you
smells
not
like?
been to the circus?
Oh yeah.
It smells like it smells like a Ringling Brothers fucking circus.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't get
White pepper smells like elephant shit. To me.
Yeah.
But I still eat it because I love it. Like,
yeah, I mean, the best foods usually smell bad, but taste good.
Yeah.
Like fish sauce smells terrible, tastes great. Fermented kimchi smells terrible, tastes great. Stinky cheese smells terrible, tastes great. Yeah.
I'm the same. I'm still always like, I've done so many different recipes and tried and I've got biscuits pretty much down. And my last key was learning, don't fuck with it too much. Mm-hmm. It's okay to let it sit a little bit.
Yeah. But let it chill.
But let it chill in the fridge. And, but also laminate. I laminate, let's see, I roll it out and then fold over. So you got 3 layers. Roll it, fold it, roll it, fold it 3 times.
Yep.
So you get, what's that? 1, 2, 3.
3 squared.
Yeah.
3 to the 3rd power.
Yes.
Is that the math?
It's not 9, but no, that'd be 27. So like 27 layers. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's about as far as like 3 folds 3 times.
Right.
Or not book fold, trifold 3 times. Yeah. And if you feel like the butter's softening, like shit, stick it in the fridge, chill it for a bit, and then bring it back out.
It's like if you're making croissant dough or
or a pastry, flaky pastry dough, but easier, I feel like, definitely.
Yeah, you just got to be fast with it. And I use tons of bench flour. And then for people who don't know what bench flour is like, it's when you see people take like a handful of flour and it down on the table and shit, that's your bench flour. That's that's your extra flour to help you handle your dough. And it's key. And people don't talk enough about how important it is because bakers don't even think about it. They're just like, extra dough, it's sticking here, boom, and hit it with more flour. But like if you have a sticky dough, like because mine's sticky because I use buttermilk and sour cream in my in my biscuits. It's pretty wet dough. So trying to handle it quickly, you need to just dust it, fold it, fold it, so.
But don't go too crazy.
No. It's just enough
layers of raw flour. Yeah.
Right. But if you're letting it sit a little bit too, it soaks in. But then the butter, just soaks everything through and cooks it anyway. So.
Yeah. No, it's good.
But yeah, don't have thick layers of flour.
No. But it took a little while to get used to know when the dough had the proper moisture content when I started rolling it out and not kneading it, but, bringing it together. 'Cause even if you follow a good recipe that has the measurements, especially with the buttermilk, sometimes depending on the brand of flour you're using, it absorbs more or less moisture than you would think. So I found like the recipe I ended up following, I combined a couple recipes, but most of them didn't call for enough buttermilk for what I was using. Also, I was using full fat buttermilk. I found some recipes used like low fat, which is like
garbage.
What's the point?
Stupid.
If you're using all that butter and most likely adding more butter when you eat it or eating it with sausage gravy, like fuck it. So every time, I measured out the buttermilk I needed, and if it's still like what you first bring that dough together, you want to make sure all that flour is like absorbed into the dough. And if it's not, and like you shouldn't have to overwork it for that to happen. If it's not, add a little tablespoon, like 1 extra tablespoon or 2 of buttermilk until it like comes together. But I don't like it too sticky wet, necessarily.
I actually like to combine it in the food processor sometimes. It works really well with the like the dough blade.
Yeah. I've done it both ways, but it's kind of fun doing it by hand. I really enjoy it.
It's fun doing it by hand.
I ended up going back to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I got like a pastry cutter
yeah.
and
that's what I usually use.
Because you don't want to touch the butter and melt it. But like if you just, the key to doing it in the processor is just to pulse it
yeah,
and not get it into a paste, because once it's a paste it's kind of done.
Yeah,
but the saving grace for when you do make it a paste, you just laminate it more. Like really that helps, and it's not going to be great, but it's going to be a little tough. And if you make it a paste, then you got to kind of let it sit for an hour for the gluten to relax. Those weird, you guys. Like,
it really is.
That's really
why,
is.
Like, I don't love baking. I don't know.
I love baking.
Precise,
I hate waiting,
but not. Oh yeah, that's the
which
thing
is
too.
most
I
of
like
baking.
Immediate satisfaction. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's ugh.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's nice about biscuits. Like, you can kind of eat them warm. They literally just need to rest for like 1 minute, which is nice. But breads and cakes and shit, like...
Oh, no, I'm just talking about
waiting.
like when you're making bread and you're like, roll it out and you got to set it for a couple hours to let it fully hydrate. And then you bring it and you punch it down and you roll it out and then you just let it sit overnight, develop the flavor, and then you pull it back out and you punch it down and then you let it rise again. Then you pull it back out and then you portion it out and then you fucking let it rise again. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so much hurry up and wait, but if you do it right, it's amazing. It's like a magic trick. Yeah.
I feel like though, I get why people bake their own bread and things like that is because they enjoy it.
It's like
relaxing. It's just as much the process as it is the final product. But someone who's like, I don't enjoy baking that much, also, at least baking bread that much, also there's really good bread available. So I'm like,
sometimes,
it's not worth the work for me. Like when I can find really good bread, and I don't have to wait. I can just go get it. But kudos to people who enjoy it. I just don't.
Yeah. Yeah, biscuits are awesome. Learn to make biscuits. Make them once or twice, and
it's fun, guys. And even if they're not that great, how bad can it be? It's a shit ton of butter. Like, it's delicious.
And just cover it with sausage gravy. Doesn't matter.
Also, biscuits with more butter, of course, and pepper jelly. That's my jam. That's a good combo.
I like lemon curd.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, or just like a proper strawberry jelly.
Strawberry jelly is my go-to jelly. Yeah,
that is also classic.
Or actually, it's jam.
Yes. Have you ever had Southern freezer jam?
Yes.
It's so good. It's like fresh strawberries.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like you don't cook it. It's like literally pureed fresh strawberries with sugar, and you put it in the freezer, and that kind of like makes everything come together, and it stays like bright pink, strawberry pink, and it's so good.
The ice perforates all of the molecules of the strawberries, so when it thaws, it just turns into mush.
Yeah. Like
and all you gotta do is stir it.
The pectin.
Yeah,
the pectin in the strawberries, like it brings it out or activates it or whatever. Who knows? It's magic. It's so good.
On the other hand, I saw a really gross picture of a woman cut open her watermelon, and it just went completely out of the watermelon, the whole watermelon.
Like liquid?
Yes.
Oh.
And she's like, what?
How does that?
She's like, what was wrong with this? And somebody was like, your watermelon was frozen before it was sold to you.
Oh,
and she was like,
that makes sense.
Shit. And I was like,
yeah,
that's fucking disgusting. Could you imagine cutting into a watermelon and it just garbages out on you?
Yeah, like you know what happens when you have sliced watermelon, you leave it in the fridge too long.
Yeah.
It's not even frozen, but it's like really slow melting cotton candy.
Yeah.
You like the texture.
You're like, why did my watermelon's water just break? What the fuck happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, strawberry freezer jam is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's hard to get.
Well, you can make it.
Yeah, exactly. But you can't, like, no one sells it because they have to sell it out of the freezer. Yeah.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing somebody makes and gives to you.
Yeah.
Or you make for a bunch of people and give it to them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have you been working on anything? Anything tasty?
I made a few things this week that I was actually like, oh. And one of them was bread. I made jerk chicken this weekend.
Ooh.
Yeah,
nice.
We were watching Triple D and some dude was making fucking jerk chicken and I was like, damn, that looks good. And just thinking it. And then Leanna went, damn, that looks good. And I was like, should I make some? She was like, fuck yeah. So we had to wait until Sunday because that was Friday night. Saturday bought all the shit, made the jerk seasoning and all that stuff and let the chicken sit overnight. And then I made...
and you did it on the grill?
Yep.
Cool.
And I did it in let it sit overnight. I did whole thighs, leg and thighs, so quarters, I guess.
Yeah. Best part.
And so like they're big pieces and I put them on the grill and then not randomly, but at certain times I would throw in soaked bay leaves and allspice to create smoke. And because there's a specific, it's the bark or the wood of the laurel.
Yeah.
Or no, the allspice tree.
Yeah.
And there's no way to buy that.
We can't get that here. Yeah.
So what I had read, I think it was through Food Lab, was the best approximation of that is to just soak bay leaves and allspice and then just kind of put that on your grill and let that smoke. And it smelled amazing. Just the water from the soaking, like the soaking liquid was like the greatest perfume ever because it was just bay leaf and allspice.
Yeah.
It was a really fragrant, beautiful smell.
I love allspice in applications like that because like when it's used in like pumpkin spice and things like that, it's too much. I hate pumpkin spice.
Most people use too much of it. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they use it they use it too much in sweet applications. In savory applications, it's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. One time my old boss, she was traveling and she brought me fresh dried allspice and it still had in the like dried fruit or shell or whatever it was in. And to use it, I had to like crack it open and like each one and get like the allspice out of it. And it was the most fragrant and like complex allspice.
It's a beautiful smell.
I like savored it. I only used it when I really, really wanted to use it and make something good, which I definitely made jerk chicken with it.
So I've never made jerk chicken.
Okay.
I've had it a bunch and it's funny because I've told this story now like a bunch of times this weekend or since last weekend. Is when I was in culinary school, there was a guy that was with me who just wanted to open a jerk chicken place. And I was like, why are you in fucking culinary school? Like, but there was also a person that just wanted to open a hot dog cart.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. But also there was me who wasn't opening shit, who just wanted to learn how to write about it better, which is the dumbest of everybody. So like, but he would, for family meal, every time it was his turn for family meal, for those who don't know, family meal's like, everybody's working all night and to feed the class, one person would always get it every night and they'd have to cook like a meal for everyone using whatever we had, which was usually just, chicken and some whatever. So he would always make jerk chicken. It was amazing every time he made it without smoking, without letting it sit overnight. Like, he would put that shit together in 2 hours and it was fucking awesome. So I knew what good jerk chicken tastes like because his was awesome because he was like from
Yeah.
Trinidad or someplace.
Nice.
And then I've had jerk chicken at other places that I really liked. So I kind of knew what it should taste like. And then reading on the technique and stuff, I'm like, okay, I'm good with the grilling. I'm good with the smoking. But then, okay,
It's all about that marinade.
It's all about that marinade. So, can't get Scotch bonnets easily. So I went with habaneros, which are pretty close.
Okay. Yeah.
And I bought a bag of them. So
oh my God.
I had a lot of habaneros left over.
What did you do?
What would you
Did
do?
make hot sauce?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I would make hot sauce.
I was about to say, what would you do with a bag full of habaneros? So I have 2 giant jars of the fucking spiciest habanero sauce, and it's chunky, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm now letting it ferment a little bit upstairs,
Nice.
and then I think once it's fermented, I'll puree it smooth,
and strain it,
and then put it in a bottle.
Nice.
But yeah, it's spicy as fuck, and I've been putting it on everything.
Yeah, it's habanero, but it has such a lovely floral flavor to it too.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, and there's a ton of onion, and there's a ton of thyme, and
garlic.
A little bit of garlic. There's some ginger in there. It's just a good sort of just like this is hot, but it goes away quick, which is nice.
Yeah.
And there's vinegar, and I also threw in what's it called? It's kind of like vinegar light. It's kind of just like slightly sour grape juice.
Apple cider vinegar? Rice wine vinegar?
No.
Oh.
I'll think of it.
Malt vinegar?
It's not a vinegar.
Oh, okay. All the vinegars.
Yeah, you just like cherry vinegar?
Yeah. It's nice to have the hot sauce on the side too when you are eating jerk chicken, because sometimes when you're making it, for the non-spicy people, you can't get too crazy with the habaneros in the marinade. Because my like party go-to was grilling wings, and I would either do the jerk wings or the like Thai fish sauce wings.
Which I've had those, and those are awesome.
Yeah. So, but you can't get crazy, because especially if you're feeding a bunch of people,
right.
There's a bunch of people in there that can barely handle pepper spice,
right. And I was worried about Crosby, but he loved it. Oh, it's verjus.
Oh, okay.
So, Di Pasquale sells bottles of verjus, red or white, and it's amazing. Yeah. Like, it's just like,
I love that place.
It's just like slightly soured grape juice. So it's in between grape juice and vinegar.
Yeah.
It's really crisp and fresh tasting, but like I like to just take like seltzer water and throw in some verjus with it. Leanna hates it. But I'm like, it tastes like non-alcoholic champagne, and she's like, I don't like it. It's too.
Yeah, I feel like that was a thing for a while, like the trend of using that in like cocktails and stuff like that.
Like
at fancy cocktail bars.
Just drink a little bit of it by itself. It's kind of just like non-alcoholic wine,
Yeah.
It's sold in wine bottles. I mean, maybe that's just why it's
it's a little tart.
Yeah, you get a 750 ml bottle for $12. Like, yeah, dude.
Nice.
But the habanero sauce was really good. And spicy. And Crosby tried it. I owe him $1 because I was like, all right, if you drink a little bit of that, I will give you $1. And he was like,
$1, that's it?
Well, that was his thing. He's like, because he'd already tasted some, but he's like, what would you do if I took like a little drink of it? And I was like, I don't have any cash on me, dude. Like, he's like, I bet $1 later. And I was like, okay. He just wanted to try it, right?
Yeah.
So he tried it, and he was like, oh my God. And I was like, it's going to go away. You're not going to die. And then after a bit, he's like, okay, yeah, that's good. After like a minute or so. But he was just like, it keeps getting hotter. I'm like, you're good. And he's like, okay, no, we're good. We're good. Okay. And I was like, yeah. See? Now you.
That's what's also nice about habanero spice. It doesn't last long. It doesn't linger. Yeah.
And I was like, hey, look, you just pretty much tasted the hottest thing in the house. and you're good. Like, it's not, we're not doing the hot ones where, he's doing like a 2 million Scoville unit hot sauce, right?
I hate that shit. Yeah.
Which we were watching last night, which is why I think he wanted to.
I mean, it's a great show. Like,
the Dave Grohl one is hilarious if you haven't watched that one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're all
He just gets that guy drunk as shit.
It's funny to watch the people who just fucking kill it, though, with barely breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
It's like, damn. Yeah.
But yeah, so made that. And then I was like, okay, well, what kind of sides am I going to have for the jerk chicken? So I did collards and then
some beans and rice.
Coconut beans and rice, which I ruined.
Nice. Oh, no.
I didn't. I have realized that making coconut rice in the Instant Pot doesn't work the way I've been doing it, because I've been adding the coconut milk as a liquid and not as a fat.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't do that because coconut milk is like kind of half and half almost, or, a lot of it's fat and not liquid. So it's not going to hydrate the rice.
Yeah. So the proportions.
Right. So I got to add,
yeah.
I got to find a mix of water and coconut milk. So I kind of fucked it up. But then last night I saved it by just kind of making it basically like a risotto. I just added a bunch of fucking stock to it and cooked it till it was creamy.
How bad can it be?
No, it was great. It tasted good.
Yeah.
It just wasn't where I wanted it, right?
Yeah.
And then I made cocoa bread. Have you ever had that?
Yes, I've had it. Never made it though, but that shit's good.
It freaked me out when I was putting it together because there was so much coconut oil per flour that the dough was really oily
loose,
and
right?
loose. Yeah. And then it, I was like, okay, well, this isn't even going to fucking rise, but I'll trust the process. And then it blew up and I was like, okay, we're good. As soon as I saw that it had risen, flattened it out, portioned it out, let it rise again. And that actually was a really quick, like, that whole recipe took probably from beginning to end 3 hours.
Nice.
Which is quick for bread.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think that's what it's supposed to be, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But the way that you portion it out is kind of like pork belly buns. Like you kind of
like fold them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
like bao buns.
Right. You roll them out in a circle, fold it in half, and then you put a little bit of extra coconut oil in between the layers so they don't stick after it rises. So you can open it up a little bit. But man, it was delicious. It's got such a good flavor.
Yeah. I also love when you get good jerk chicken. Like the best jerk chicken I've had are usually like from some dudes doing it on the side of the road.
Exactly.
Like there's one who would do it in the old flea market parking lot across the street from the restaurant Depot. He's out there occasionally. And the other one was in a gas station parking lot in DC off of Route 50.
Yeah.
The best I've ever had. And they always serve it with like stewed cabbage. That's always so fucking good.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how they make that kind of cabbage, but it's delicious.
Well, they're not afraid to put a char on it too. That's the other thing. Like the char is kind of part of that flavor.
There are a couple places here in Baltimore that like are, they make jerk chicken and all those other like Caribbean style foods, and you order the jerk chicken and it's a fucking stew. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, why?
It's got like gravy and
this
shit.
isn't jerk chicken.
No.
Like I don't understand that. I get very angry.
Real quick, the only other thing to talk about that I made this week that I'm actually having tonight to finish out the leftovers is I made shumai burgers.
Shumai burgers.
Yeah, so basically
like shrimp and pork.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so basically like
delicious.
a shumai filling with extra scallion
in like a patty.
Yep. big patty on a burger
Mm-hmm.
bun with, like a slaw, and then
Mm-hmm.
lots of Kewpie mayo and
Nice. Just like pan
hot sauce.
fried
Yep.
or mm-hmm.
Yep.
Nice.
So good.
I've done shrimp burgers where you puree up some shrimp with seasonings, a little cornstarch, and then you dip it in egg and panko.
Oh,
and
shit.
pan fry it.
Yeah, that's good.
And that makes a fucking good burger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds delicious. Speaking of dumplings, I also made this week. Of course, I saw it like viral online, but I was like, that's a fucking genius idea, doing rice paper fried dumplings, where you use like the rice paper rounds that you just dip in some warm water and roll like summer rolls in.
Yeah.
But I'd made, a pork classic dumpling filling, little soy sauce, garlic, ginger, blah, blah, blah. And I folded in those rice paper rolls and pan fried it, and they were fucking delicious.
Oh, fuck
like crispy
yeah.
on the outside, chewy on the sides. It was great. We literally made a whole meal of eating like 30 dumplings each. It was amazing.
I have a pack of those in my cupboard right now, and I love those things just for rolls, but when you deep fry, like I've done it kind of where you like pipe out the stuff, not pipe it out, but put the filling in it and then roll it and then deep fry it just like in like a spring roll. Jesus Christ, those things are good.
Yeah.
But okay.
No, I did like little square pockets, like folded pockets.
Did you cut the round?
So I had the smaller ones already. I had the small round ones that were like
they have small ones?
6 inch.
I don't think I've
they
ever
have them in all
seen those.
sizes. Yeah, they're perfect. They're perfect for dumplings. So I just had to use one each. And
so how'd you fold it?
It was really good. So I had like a burrito almost, but like square.
Okay.
And like folded over instead of rolled, because I like it flat because you want surface area to crisp up in the on the stove.
So like an envelope kind of.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you get a couple layers on each side because you're like rolling it, so it doesn't like tear apart.
Yeah.
And it was really
and you pan fried them.
Good. I pan fried them, just a little avocado oil until like the filling cooks through.
And what was your filling?
And I did ground pork. I did saute up some onions, mushrooms, very finely chopped, some red cabbage, and then I folded in raw garlic, fresh ginger, soy sauce, sesame seed oil, little Shaoxing cooking wine, and seasonings, some chives, blah blah blah.
Damn, that sounds
delicious.
Good.
Yeah, I was very happy.
That's pretty much like the shumai thing I did was pureed. I had ground pork, added pureed shrimp, not totally pureed, a couple little chunkies in there.
Yeah.
I've really become attached to making garlic ginger puree.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That way
you can freeze it.
Yeah, but I don't have to fucking chop it because it's such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So it's just easier, just tablespoon.
Yeah. No, you know what's funny is I've always been like, oh, I'm not using jarred, pre-chopped, preserved garlic and all that stuff. And still, I usually just use fresh garlic because I feel like that pre-jarred stuff has like a bitter aftertaste.
But the toothpaste ginger?
But the toothpaste ginger, that shit is like fucking rocking and it lasts forever. Because I'll always buy like a big num of ginger, not use it all, and then it shrivels up like an old shriveled toe in my fucking vegetable drawer.
I threw away 3 shriveled toes yesterday. It's like all these mummy toes.
It's off-putting. It's at the bottom of the drawer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually just got my first tube of ginger.
It's good.
So I was like, fuck it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
definitely better than the pre-done garlic.
Oh yeah,
sure.
I'll never buy that shit. But I actually have a tube of that, and then actually the other tube of that stuff that I really like is the lemongrass.
Oh yeah, that stuff's good too. Because also it's like really hard sometimes to find fresh lemongrass, and it's a lot more convenient. But not even shaming people for using the garlic because like people are busy, especially like weekday.
I just don't like the
dinners,
flavor of
like
it.
Fucking use it. Yeah, if I don't have to, I won't do it. But
I don't like when I'm at a restaurant and I can tell they used the jarred
You can
stuff.
kind of
And
taste
I'm like,
it.
God
Yeah.
damn it, because it's got that weird sour. Like there's some sort of like oxidation or citric acid or whatever they put into it to preserve it that I'm like, ugh, okay.
You know what my mom used to do? She would definitely in a food processor pre-puree some garlic, but then put it in containers and freeze it. Because we just use so much garlic, in Korean cooking, and we use a massive amount of it. So that's what she did. But she would make it and freeze it right away.
Super smart.
So it definitely, and she would just scrape at it and use it right out of the freezer, and it would cook up and defrost really fast. And it was fine. It was much better. Again, not as good as fresh chopped garlic, but she was a busy lady. So
But it also
worked.
doesn't have that preservative flavor, so it still tastes like garlic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't know
it's
what
not
the
like
difference.
Shelf stable.
I don't know what the difference is with the toothpaste stuff, but that
I
doesn't
know.
have
Why
that
is it
weird,
so good?
sodium benzoate or whatever the fuck they put into it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, but I'm a convert on that toothpaste ginger.
Yeah, me too.
Why don't they make toothpaste ginger flavored? I feel like that would be good.
They do.
They do?
I think so.
Who?
I think I've seen it before.
Probably some fancy Whole Foods toothpaste or something.
I used to get clove flavored toothpaste.
Ooh, no, can't do that. Yeah.
It wasn't bad until it was bad.
Do you like Big Red?
Yes.
Even though that's cinnamon, but it's kind of in the same vein.
It wasn't that strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do. Well, there's like an all spicy clovey gum too that I really like. It's
No,
called
I don't like it in
blackjack
the
or
gum.
something like that.
Yeah. I can't chew gum anyway. Like I'll chew it for like 2 seconds and be like, I need this out of my mouth.
Why is that?
I don't know. I guess it's a sensory thing. Like I can barely chew it long enough for it to lose its flavor, which isn't that long.
No.
But sometimes I can't even chew it that long.
Were you the kid that
weird?
like if you got like a piece of Hubba Bubba, like you just swallow it because it was just so flavorful?
Yeah, I definitely swallowed my fair share of gum. But even as a kid, I didn't really like gum that much. I love like taffy, like High Chews, Mambas, Starburst, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I gotta watch myself with those. Those are fucking good.
I love those too. I'm also a gum person though. Like I'll do gum all day and then the next day be like, oh my God, my jaw hurts so bad. What's wrong? And then be like, oh right, I chewed 2 pieces of gum for 17 hours yesterday.
Yeah. If I am going to do gum, I have to say a stick of juicy fruit is fucking good. It's
agree.
very nostalgic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, in food news a couple weeks ago, they've killed fruit stripe gum. It's gone.
What's fruit stripe gum?
You never had fruit stripe gum with the zebra?
Oh, no, I don't
Which
think
was
I have.
like,
I know what you're talking
by
about.
the time you said, oh, I have a piece of fruit stripe gum in my mouth, the flavor was already gone. Like, and you didn't even chew it. Like,
yeah. Oh, you remember chiclet gum? Those were good,
Christ,
actually.
you'd have to throw like 14 of them in your mouth.
I know, but they had that candy coating, like crunchy candy coating.
I don't think I've ever done a gum episode.
A gum episode, or have we done nostalgic candy?
I don't know.
Because I feel like, we're old, so we could go way back.
Yeah.
We go way back when we had penny candy.
Oh,
like
I was in West Virginia, and there was a old timey candy place, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before. And we went through it, and it was a lot of fun just going through, like, trying to show Crosby, like, oh, this was like your grandparents' candy that I actually ate because they gave it to us. And I tried to show him that terrible dot candy that's on paper.
I used to love
and
that
he was
shit.
like, why would you eat that? It's got paper on the back of it. I'm like, yeah, it's part of it. The paper's part of the
and half the time
paper's
paper
part of the
rips
flavor.
off and you eat that too.
Yeah. Paper's the flavor. So,
or the wax candy that was filled with juice,
Nickel Nips,
especially the Coca-Cola ones.
Nickel Nips,
those are good. And you chew the wax.
He hated those because I bought those and I was like, drink, like, you got to bite the top off and then drink the juice out, because there's 2 ways. You either bite the top off and drink the juice person, or you were a bite through and chew the wax with the juice in it person. which I was the second.
Oh, that was me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Because I was I like chewing the wax. But he didn't like the taste of the stuff. And I'm
the
like,
wax.
oh, well, you wouldn't like, I was like, oh, well, you wouldn't like, what were those little hugs? Do you remember those little
hugs?
Those little fruit juice bombs that had the aluminum foil on the top?
Foil top. Oh my God, I forgot about those.
Because that was basically what was inside Nickel Nips.
Yeah.
That was you drink it, it's kind of like acidic. And you're like, why is this burn?
That was our Capri Suns.
Yeah. Before Capri Suns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because those things cost like a quarter.
Mm-hmm. I remember
those.
But
if you were fancy.
The orange ones are my favorite.
I'll go with grape.
Yeah.
But those
are the two.
Or
the blue. The blue was good too.
I didn't like the blue. I like the red though.
Yeah.
But if you were fancy, you got Capri Sun. Capri Sun was 50 cents.
Yeah, that was the bougie juice.
And then you'd fuck up and throw the straw all the way through both layers because you did it too hard. God damn it. You have to hold your finger over the fucking hole like it's carb and you're smoking a bong and shit.
And they never fixed it. It's still the same. Yeah. We send people to the moon and they can't fucking think of a better idea of how to open or drink juice.
We were watching. What the fuck were we? It was we were watching Abbott Elementary, which is a very recent.
Great
it was a very
show.
recent episode, and they had a Capri Sun joke where she did that, and I was like, "That's still a thing."
Still a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yep.
Yeah. And also, why do they make milk cartons the way I like now that they have the screw off cap?
Yes.
But there are still ones that, especially heavy cream and all the other types of milks, where you have to open the end of and it's sometimes the cardboard and it never works and you tear it. And so when you pour it out, it gets all over the place. Why do we still fucking have that?
Have you ever seen the video of this is the actual way that it was meant to do? And it's, you make two cuts with scissors and it comes out perfectly. And I'm like, nobody in second grade has scissors like that can cut through that fucking thick ass cardboard.
Yeah. Listen to us. You know what else grinds my gears?
You know what else about milk?
This episode.
I had that moment yesterday when I was pouring cereal out for Crosby. I always give him the option. I'm like, all right, do you want cereal or do you want an egg? If he wants an egg, I toast a piece of toast, cover it with butter, chop it up into little bits, make that a nest, put the egg on top, bird's nest.
Ooh.
Or cereal. Yesterday, opted for cereal. There was a brand new box of cereal. Is there anyone who can open that one half of the top of the box without completely ripping it?
No, there isn't, because you're supposed to be able to use the tab to slip it back in so it closes.
But right next to the tab, it always rips.
It does, and then that stupid bag inside that you can't reseal. Why?
Because they hate us and they want it to go bad. But the trick's on them. Nobody gives a shit about stale fucking cereal because you're gonna just put milk on it.
Yeah, it's actually better that way. Yeah. So. All right, so
old
should
people
we
corners,
actually talk about the topic?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, well,
we should have this every episode.
We've talked 49 minutes about what grinds our gears. Well, that's okay because this was always gonna be part one anyway. So what we're gonna do is talk about pâtés and terrines.
Pâté.
Yeah, pâtés and terrines and force meats. And I'm just going to give you an overview because the next episode, I really want to go into the styles and the techniques because that's really what makes these things special. So
and there's so many.
I'm going to start with sort of an overview, and I'm going to read straight out of a book here. I have a book. It's the book Charcuterie.
Ooh, Charcuterie. I have that one. That's a good book.
By Michael Ruhlman and Brian Polson. Michael Ruhlman's the writer who also learned at the foot of Brian Polson. Brian Polson is a very accomplished chef who worked at the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America, and it's pretty rad. So I'm just gonna read the beginning of the pâté and terrine section, which is called the Cinderella meatloaf. I love so pâtés and terrines, perhaps because they are served in elegant restaurants and sold in gourmet shops, and often look so cool, are thought to be unmercifully difficult. Some truly are. Pâtés and croûte, looking at you. But the basic country pâté, which can be every bit as satisfying as a fancy pants galantine de canard, is scarcely more difficult than your average made from scratch meatloaf. The following recipes run the gamut from basic to elaborate, but the bottom line is that the pâté represents a basic technique that the home cook should enjoy. And then, in this section, they give you 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 recipes for pâtés and terrines, going from pâté de campagne, which is just like your basic country pâté, to, English pork pie, chicken galantines, which we'll get into that. They actually have a Maryland crab scallop and saffron terrine, which sounds
I forgot about the
amazing.
seafood.
Yeah.
Yeah, pâtés. Yeah.
And then they have like a head cheese recipe in here.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Avocado and artichoke terrine with poached chicken, which is interesting. And then
it's interesting because like pâté is a French word, right?
Right.
So, but every country has their version of pâté. Like, do you have a definition, like a broad
we'll get into that in a
definition
second.
of pâté? Yeah. Okay.
So I'm just going to read this opening part here too, and then I'll get into another spot.
Cool.
Pâtés and terrines, broadly speaking, are essentially big sausages cooked in some sort of mold, either earthenware or porcelain. In dough. Okay, so earthenware or porcelain, which would be like a terrine, in dough, which would be en croûte, or in skin, which happens with galantines and ballantines. Not in, a sausage is in a casing, which is either synthetic or intestine, right? So these are kind of like sausage meats. They're force meats. Force meat is anything that's ground together, and pâté means paste, right? So without the mold, they're meatloaf. Pâtés made of meat and fish date back to antiquity. They remained popular from the Middle Ages up to the 1900s, and today they continue to be part of the restaurant cooking, but are largely neglected in the home kitchen, which is crazy because they're pretty easy to do. We tend to associate pâtés with French cooking because French haute cuisine showed how special they might be, given some care and finesse. Compare the elegant pâté and croûte with the workmanlike English pork pie, for instance. In America, though, as with so much French-inspired haute cuisine, pâtés became somewhat debased and misinterpreted by cooks who didn't understand what the greatness of the pâté was all about. A smooth suspension of fat in meat, beguiling spices, forceful seasoning, and a dynamic appearance. Americans in general have an impression that a pâté is a meat spread or liver spread, or that it must include foie gras. While foie gras can make a pâté of the highest order, in the hands of the right cook, chicken and salmon make equally exquisite pâtés. In France, pâtés in terrine and en croûte are available in markets everywhere, very much a lively part of the culinary commerce. Here, while not uncommon at restaurants serving French bistro fare, pâté is a rarity, available mainly in specialty supermarkets. But there are indications that it's returning in popularity, and then it goes on, and it's true. Like, it's become more popular even since this book was made. I think a lot of restaurants have backed off of making their own charcuterie, because there was a time
for sure.
There was a time in the early 2010s where that was really hot.
Yeah, for sure. Curing your own sausages and salumis. Cause it's time consuming. You need the space. It's finicky. I feel like people do the easy ones like lomo, like small pork tenderloin cured in like duck breast, which is super easy. But like pâtés are so much easier than like cured sausages too.
Yeah. And it's surprising it's not making a return just because it's a good way to use up scraps, inexpensive meats, you know?
Yeah.
Because there is so much, cost, like you need to make sure your cost and your, like, the stuff that you throw away is waste.
Used.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it has to be waste and not something that can be used because, as you know, it's to eke out a fucking profit is hard these days.
It is. The margins are very small and shrinking constantly.
Yes.
But yeah, like a lot of even like poorer countries were making their own pâtés to do that, to use up like leftover pieces, like ears and noses and lips and things like that. Stuff that actually had a lot of like gelatin in it.
Head cheese.
Which is what holds, which is like pretty much aspic, and that's what holds a lot of the ground meat pâtés. If you had to choose, would you do a smooth pâté or like a country pâté?
When I make pâtés normally, which because of this, I'm going to make a couple this weekend. I make my favorite is a country pâté. I like to do a country pâté with pistachios distributed throughout.
Ooh, yeah.
And then wrapped in bacon.
Bacon?
Yeah. And
that's
then
classic.
And then put into a mold and cooked and then covered and then pressed down with a brick to really push it, compress it, and then slice it and then sear it.
Ooh, so you cook it. Yeah. Like scrapple.
Yeah. Sometimes I just use it as is cooked. But sometimes I like to, it depends on what mood I'm in. Cause sometimes like to take the whole thing out of the mold, the terrine, and then just sear all the bacon, just enough to get it crispy. Cause you're not going to get it crispy all the way through.
No.
But I do.
And like in a lot of French restaurants, they don't even do that. Like it's served cold sliced.
And a lot of the bacon fat has already been rendered out anyway. So, it just kind of is flavor. I like to pour out as much of the fat as I can before I compress it because otherwise it becomes really fatty on the outside.
Would you consider scrapple pâté?
I would. Yeah, of course.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't think there's a doubt that it's, a sort of American pâté because it's the reason that a lot of this stuff happened in the beginning was just to use the livers and use, all the bits and bobs. And then once people started getting better at it, you start realizing that, okay, well, there's a balance. So it's an amount of fat and an amount of meat mixed together to basically be an emulsion that will, when cooked, not separate. But then you can just put whatever the fuck you want in it, right? Like, and the one thing that like a lot of people don't understand about pâtés is that they're really heavily spiced because they are sold usually served cold. So it needs to be extra spiced because when you cool stuff down, your taste buds don't pick up that flavor,
I feel like maybe not as much country pâtés, but a lot of times like it's not as preserved as like cured meats, but it's still preserved more than like just a regular cooked piece of protein.
Oh yeah, of course.
For sure.
Yeah, there's a lot more salt. I don't think that you can. I mean, I guess you could cure like a country pâté because
it would be. I feel like it would be considered a sausage if it was cured.
Sausages are cured. They're hung out to dry and, lose weight and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, the thing that's special about pâtés and country pâtés or even, really smooth pâtés is that you can hide stuff in the middle. So there's always like, a piece of salmon or a piece of like chicken tender that runs down the middle. So when you cut it, you see that little piece in the middle and it makes it fancy.
Yeah.
And, that kind of stuff's really cute. Or, there's a lot of herbs that you can throw into it to make it taste a different way, and
Mm-hmm.
like force meats, which are the emulsion of fat and meat, are rife for like, you don't even have to put it into a terrine mold or roll it in skin. You could just plop that stuff into hot water, and it becomes like a meat dumpling, like you get in like pho, right? Like those Vietnamese meatballs, that's what they are. They're a force meat that's then just been poached,
pureed. Yeah, and heavily pureed. It's like a paste.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost.
Yeah.
I love watching them do that fresh because they like grab a bunch of it in their hand and like pinch it out and then scrape it off like with a spoon. It's fucking fun.
And it's awesome to watch them do quickly because
they're fast as shit. Yeah.
Anything that a chef can do quickly is fucking mesmerizing to me.
Oh yeah.
It's like watching Jacques Pepin cut up an onion. You're just like, that's fucking awesome. But same thing.
I love watching
dudes pull noodles.
Who know what they're doing
when they're quick at it. It's like you just did a magic trick.
I love it watching someone who really knows what they're doing break down a whole chicken.
Oh yeah,
like it's mesmerizing. It's satisfying. Like
oh yeah. Well, and one of the things that like, have you ever made a ballantine or a galantine before?
Very long time ago, like in my 20s.
I've done it a few times. I do it every 2 to 3 years, where you have to take the skin off the chicken in basically one piece.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a like, all right, time to get the knife skills back up, right? Because you basically make one cut and then you cut around the whole chicken. So you can have one giant piece of skin to then take all that meat from the chicken, cut that off, and then grind that up with spices and herbs, put on top of the skin, roll that up, and then roll that in layers of plastic wrap and poach it.
Yep.
And then
perfect for sous videing.
Yeah. And then you pull that out and then you broil that or, blow torch it or just griddle
That's
it.
Kind of shit they would wrap in what is that, like the net of fat? What is that called?
Caul fat.
That like Hall fat. Yeah.
Yeah, caul fat's so fucking good.
Caul fat. Yeah.
And, or you can put it in just cheesecloth and poach it in the cheesecloth too.
Oh yeah.
So
I guess
but for that you have to have a very flavorful core bouillon. Like a really heavily spiced liquid to because if you do water, it takes flavor away from the actual, thing. So you want something that's like super heavily salted and spiced, so it actually does add to the end process.
Yes.
I do have some more stuff here. Like I have a thing from a French website that makes pâtés, which they really go into, like, in the Middle Ages, terrines and pâtés were differentiated by the way they were cooked. Terrines were cooked in an earthenware dish, where pâtés were cooked inside pastry, which was not always edible, like a meat pie. And we've talked about that, where they would cook pâtés inside these like really thick pastries that were just basically water and salt and flour.
For show. Yeah.
That was kind of like a earthenware piece, but it would also soak up the fat, and then they just break it off and then have the stuff inside, which is really what they wanted.
It was definitely for show, like the rich people to show off to their guests all the fancy shit that they have or can afford.
So numerous recipes existed at the time, prepared with pork, poultry, eel, carp, sturgeon, monkfish, cod, venison, capon, gars de veau, sheep's tongue, blade of beef pie, and bacon. The term pâté came to designate any blended meat preparation cooked in pastry. And then they start going into, because this is a French company, they start talking really heavily into like French history of pâté, which is really interesting for me, but probably not. Like people don't want to know about like Picardy in northern France in the 17th century. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, so, but it's interesting because some of the stuff they talk about, you know, they're talking about ham pate, partridge, uh, pig milk pate, you know, shit like that. That's pretty much probably gone. Hare pate, woodcock, leg of lamb, veal, that kind of stuff. Have you been to Paris? We've talked about this.
Yes, also very, very young. I wish I had appreciated food
Did you
more,
go into
but
any of the like sausage places?
I think I did, to be honest. I was so young.
Okay.
I don't remember. Yeah.
One of the most mind-blowing things, like I knew there were, you know, sausage stores and I knew there were bakeries and chocolatiers and all that, but I didn't realize that going into like the sausage place, they also would have these giant bowls that were like parsley and aspic with ham, or you know, you would just take a spoon and they would just scoop it for you, right? Like, or
yeah, it's like meat jello,
right? Or you know, they would have their own country pâtés. They just like, how much do you want? Oh, I just need, you know, you just 3 inches or 5 inches, and they would just, you know, and then they'd give it to you, and then you would take it home. You'd buy the mustard there, and the cornichons and shit, and then you know, let's go to the park, grab a piece of bread, we're good. Like, I love eating like that, right? Like, I love that kind of just simple, like, okay, we got some meat, we got some pickles, we got some bread, let's get some good butter and some wine and fucking make it a day. You know, like that sounds like a perfect afternoon to me. So like,
me too.
A lot of this stuff is easier than people think. You know, like making chicken liver mousse is super easy.
So easy.
And super
it really
cheap
is.
because people don't realize how fucking cheap chicken livers are.
Yeah. And like growing up, I didn't eat things like that. And like Lila, whose family is Jewish, they, you know, holidays and special occasions, they made like chopped liver, Jewish style chopped liver. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And the first couple of times I tried, I was like, no, I can't do it because I didn't really grow up eating it. But I kept eating. I was like, actually, this is really good, especially when they put a shit ton of hard boiled eggs in it. And of course, when I started making it, I made it very not kosher and would put a shit ton of butter in it. So. But yeah, it's so delicious. Yeah. It's like it's spreading fat. It is pretty much.
Yeah, you're
like
putting fat on bread.
Butter.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So I think next episode we'll go really hardcore into sort of the techniques, and because I'm a little overwhelmed, I'm covered with books and history, and you know, I think really what you need to know is, you know, kind of what we covered just in the last 20 minutes, which is basically, it's been popular throughout, you know, the history of food. It's in a lot more things than you think. Like if you get a banh mi sandwich, there's pate in it, you know, like,
oh yeah,
you know,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Cause they, you know, smear a big thing of pate at the bottom of that sandwich. And that's one of the things that makes it rich and delicious. And which is also why there's pickled veg in it to, you know, because that kind of heavily fatty, luxurious meat needs a foil, and that's usually some sort of
something,
pickle.
an acid, something bright.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna leave it there because we are sort of kind of over time anyway, and
cool.
It's good that we talked about what we made this week.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We'll go hard in the paint next time in a few weeks about like the types of pâtés and terrines, like more granular, like there are pork pâtés and then there's liver pâtés and then there's also mousselines, which are, you know, more likely to be seafood and that kind of thing. Like technically the burger that I made is a pâté, but it's just, it's more of a small little meatloaf. But yeah, if I would have put that in a terrine, dunzo, you know? So,
yeah.
All right. That's the end of the episode. Thank you for listening to the Rude Cooking School podcast. We really appreciate your time. If you like the show and you want to share it with somebody, please tell them. Word of mouth is how we get out there. We don't choose to spend money for ads because it's kind of annoying. And if you can, rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, where you can just rate us, leave a message or a review if you can. And anywhere that you get your podcast, just give us a 5-star review. That would be awesome. Thank you very much. I'll be back next week. And Jeni, you'll be back in like 3 weeks.
Yes. And we'll do pate then.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Pate 2.
Pate 2. I guess I'll be here.
Pate 2.
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. For the Rude Cooking School podcast, don't yuck my yum, because my name's John Hauser III.
And I'm Jeni Peck. Bye.
See you, everybody. Peace.